Welcome to the District Court Show, a production of the 10th Judicial District and QCTV. I am Judge Francis Green, a District Court Judge chambered in Washington County. My co-host is Chief Judge Elizabeth Strand, who is chambered in Wright County. On today's show, we will be interviewing two recent judicial appointees in the 10th Judicial District. We have Judge Carrie Doom, chambered in Isanti County, and Judge Jacob Fischmann, chambered in Kanabec County. Chief Judge Strand will tell us more about our distinguished guests.
Thank you, Judge Green. And we're back. We've taken a hiatus for a while. So Judge Green and I are back to doing shows. So thank you, everybody, for your patience at home. Judge Carrie Doom was recently appointed, as Judge Green mentioned, in Isanti County, replacing the Honorable Amy Brosnahan. Isanti County is a small county in the 10th Judicial District with only 2 judges, and Judge Doom comes with as a powerhouse of experience in family law and also child protection. She practices child protection cases in Chisago County and family law all over the area as well. Judge Fischmann is appointed, as Judge Green mentioned, in Kanabec County, which is a 1-judge county, quite a unique appointment. He does replace the Honorable Krista Martin due to her retirement. Judge Fischmann was a senior assistant county attorney at the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, former assistant county attorney at the Chisago County Attorney's Office, and also an assistant attorney general. Welcome, Judge Doom. Welcome, Judge Fischmann. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon.
You know, when folks go to interview with the governor, one of the first questions asked is, why did you apply to be a judge? So I'm going to start there. Judge Doom, why did you apply to be a judge?
You know, that was a question that I struggled a little bit with too as I was going into the interview process. For me, being a judge wasn't something that had been this lifelong path or goal of mine. Candidly, becoming a lawyer wasn't even some childhood dream of mine. So I think I've talked to a lot of colleagues where from the moment they kind of knew what they wanted to do in life, being a lawyer and then progression to a judge was kind of that natural step. And that really wasn't my trajectory. I had really no intention of going to law school when I went to undergrad, and life took me to law school. When I was in law school, I swore up and down I was never going to do family law, and life took me to family law. When it came to being a judge, it really started with a lot of people approaching me about, this may be a good fit for you. And I thought about that and really reflected on the fact that I loved the work I was doing. I loved the families I served. I loved helping individuals through the most difficult times in their life. I felt that they entrusted me with helping them deal with their most important things, their children. And it was hard for me to think of leaving that role in that position. But then I really started to reflect on the fact that as an advocate, I could only do so much. My limitations were what they were as an advocate, and a judge position really allowed me to take my skill set and try and make a greater impact on more people's lives. And that's really what brought me into this position, was the hope that I could take the skills, the temperament, the things that have helped me be successful in the past 20 years, and bring that to the bench and listen, be a person that people could listen, that I could listen to them and hear their stories. Having walked people through the difficult paths of family courts, could be now that person that they could come to, and I could take that skill set and just make a greater difference and a greater impact in more people's lives.
Judge Fischmann, why did you apply to be a judge, especially in a 1-judge county?
So can I just say the same? You got it, Carrie. Same thing. No, it was I've been an advocate my entire career, basically a prosecutor my entire career, and I really did love the work for the same reasons that Judge Doom indicated, that she really enjoyed seeing people through their most difficult times. To say that I enjoyed that's maybe kind of a weird word for enjoy, when you're dealing with some pretty serious criminal cases, but it it was incredibly rewarding and it gave me purpose. But I also found that I had a skill and was good at problem solving, not just in the advocacy realm. And when I really thought about it, that aspect of problem solving, not just advocacy, was something that I really enjoyed and found myself good at when I was put into a management role. It wasn't just appearing in court, it was helping attorneys through cases, trying to come up with the best offer, whether or not to counter, whether or not to charge, not to charge, ask investigators to do more work. That aspect of the job was becoming more and more appealing, and that's a big part of being a judge. It's not advocacy, it's problem solving, and it's problem solving with everybody from the parties and the attorneys. And so that's an aspect of it that I found to really enjoy. And I'm glad I was right because I'm finding that part very rewarding as well.
Well, the journey to becoming a judge is one that requires a great amount of commitment and diligence, and it also takes a willingness to maybe accept defeat. Some people go through the process multiple times, but everybody's journey is different. Tell us about your journey, Judge Doom.
So my journey, I first interviewed, was a finalist with the vacancies a few years ago in Pine County and Wright County. That was my first go around as being a finalist. Did not get either of those positions, but was really encouraged to not give up, to keep moving forward in the process. And then when the vacancies opened in Anoka County, I again applied for those vacancies. That time, interviewed at the Judicial Selection Committee, but was not a finalist for an interview with the governor. Again, at that moment, I was ready to kind of accept defeat, that maybe this wasn't where I was supposed to be or the path that I was supposed to be on. But again, continued to be encouraged to move forward and apply when the vacancies came in open in Isani and Kanabec County. And so I did. And in hindsight, I've really looked at the fact that this is where I was meant to be if I was going to be in this role. If I was going to serve it as a judge, it was going to be in Isani County, where I call home. And as hard as defeat was those other times, I'm so glad that I was patient through that process and that I ultimately am now able to serve in the county and the community that I love. It's been home for me for 20 years now. So I think I officially call it home. I'm not always sure, like, what point do you no longer make your childhood home your home, but this is your new home. And Isani County has been just fabulous to me throughout the years, and now being able to serve in this capacity and to serve the wonderful community members of Isani County is just something I'm ecstatic about. So there was a defeat, but it was defeat with purpose, and brought me to where I'm supposed to be.
Excellent. Judge Fischmann, what was your experience like?
Yeah, so I pretty similar. I applied last year, so that would have been in 2024 for the openings in Anoka and Sherburne. I was lucky enough to be a finalist that time that I applied. And frankly, when I saw the list of people that I was going against as finalists, I was like, oh, that's not good. They're all awesome. It was kind of a cool process because I think four of the other five people that I was interviewing with during that application, I knew quite well from prior practice experience. And so that was fun. And it was nice to know that I got beat out by some really, really good people. So that actually kind of gave me a little bit of confidence. It's like, well, there's no harm in losing to those folks. And so that just gave me the confidence to apply again when the openings in Cambridge and Mora popped up, and threw my hat in the ring. Again, lucky enough to have some friendly ears that listened to the interview and got me on to be a finalist. In between not getting it and then getting the second interview, you just don't stop. You keep contacting people. You keep making sure people know that you do want to be a judge, and if it's something you really want to do, and if you don't, that's fine. But after that first round, after that first interview, it did confirm that it's something I really did want to do, and glad I'm here.
Judge Fischmann, I'm going to keep with you. So after you were appointed, there's a learning curve to taking the bench. I'm not talking necessarily only about the law, but how to be a judge and how to preside over cases and being on this side of the bench versus the other side that you're used to. So what did you do to prepare for taking the bench?
I talked to as many people as I knew that were not in the criminal law sphere. As I hope it came across in my previous answer, I've been a criminal law practitioner since I got out of law school. And so, very comfortable with all of the rules, procedures, the laws, the culture surrounding criminal law in Minnesota. But civil law is something that's very, very different. What really helped was reaching out to a number of family law and civil law practitioners, friends from law school, parents of friends from law school, to just ask them, what is the practice? What's the procedure here? What do you do if you don't know the answer? And so that was the biggest thing. And honestly, the biggest takeaway that I got from all of those folks was, it's okay if you don't know the answer. And in fact, it's probably better if you just admit that you don't know the answer and you take the time to figure out the answer. And so that was one of the best things that I was told. And I'm so glad I did that, because coming in here and seeing a calendar full of cases that you've never touched before can be quite daunting unless you have that background to know that it's going to be all right. You can do it. You can figure it out.
Judge Doom, how did you prepare?
Very similar to Judge Fischmann in terms of reaching out to colleagues in the world of criminal law. I was in a very different position than Judge Fischmann. I had very little criminal experience. Family law, child protection, that was my world. I understood it. I knew it. The world of criminal law was something that was going to be a new undertaking for me. And it takes up a big percentage of our calendar. And I was very fortunate. Judge Brosnahan, whose seat I took, kind of took me under her wing the minute I was appointed. And we sat and had meetings once a week or so. She would have a new tidbit of information to share with me, careful not to inundate me too quickly or too much. But she really, in the kind of month leading up from the appointment to me stepping in, she really just provided me with information, got me down to the basics. I felt like I was back in law school talking through the basics, and she did a wonderful job with that. Also, Judge Klosner in Iceni County, who's my co-judge here, also has great criminal experience and just really has held my hand every step of the way through that.
Thank you. We'll hear more from Judge Doom and Judge Fischmann on the other side of the break.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, and she convinced me to continue my education. No one receives a diploma alone. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Okay, and we are back. So, one of the things about being a judge, there can be surprises on the job, I'm imagining. So I'm just wondering, any surprises on the job, Judge Fischmann?
Surprises, how many different causes of action and legal worlds there are. I mean, you think about, and I've been an attorney for a while now, so I'm like, oh, I kind of know what the practice of law is all about. But how many different types of probate law there are, how many different types of civil law, how many different types of evictions, how many different types of orders for protections, harassment, restraining orders. There is so much nuance and so much volume of law out there that one thing that I really gained a lot of respect for was the general practitioner. I've again been in just such a, criminal law itself can be quite broad, but ultimately the rules are the rules and the law is the law on a lot of it. But I gained a whole new respect for, you know, a lot of the general practitioner attorneys that are able to competently represent people in a whole host. I mean, we're talking dozens of different areas of nuanced law, and so that was a surprise. It's exciting to kind of have that to learn. Daunting, but also just very impressive that what some of these practitioners are able to do.
Well, and district court judges, you touched on that, Judge Fischmann. We hear all kinds of cases across all different subject matters, and you're coming in there perhaps with some specialized experience. Some people have more general experience. So, yeah, there's a lot of nuance and surprises that the job may bring. What about you, Judge Doom? What has surprised you most about being a judge?
I think the sheer volume of cases has been somewhat of a surprise to me. I always would hear my colleagues, particularly in the criminal world, talk about the lengthy calendars that exist at times on the criminal calendar. But until you're actually living it and breathing it, you don't really realize the sheer volume of those cases. And so that's been one of the big surprises to me. But I think as the support to that, though, is how amazing our court system is set up with court administration staff and the supports and the resources to make those calendars run efficiently. And Zoom hearings, I loved Zoom hearings as an attorney. I was like, Zoom hearings are fabulous. Wow, Zoom hearings, when you have like 40 squares that I can kind of just continue to refer to as the Brady Bunch squares, really dating and aging myself. But it's a lot with all of those screens on there, and you're trying to make that connection to that individual that you're talking to in that moment. And it's just hard. It was one of the more surprising things, was just trying to figure out how to balance large calendars with the Zoom screens and all of these people on the hearings, and they don't know how to turn their cameras on or mute themselves, and you'll be in the middle of one hearing and somebody else will start talking. And so that's been one of the surprises for me, is just navigating those larger calendars.
Judge Doom, in addition to judging, are there any special initiatives that you foresee getting involved with while you're a judge, such as initiatives to advance family law or other types of law or child protection?
I think one of the initiatives that would be really near and dear to my heart is really initiatives around providing better or mental health supports and resources. Mental health is such a prevalent issue, whether it's our criminal caseload, our family caseload, our child protection caseload. And particularly in smaller counties where both Judge Fischmann and I are seated, we have such limited resources for mental health supports and resources. And getting even people connected to mental health services is a real strain and a challenge. And I think some initiatives around mental health are really near and dear to my heart in that regard. I often think about my child protection work, and just even getting a parent in for a psychological evaluation or a diagnostic assessment could be months. And when those months are months away from their children, that's really hard. And so for me, any type of mental health initiatives are really at the forefront of where I could see wanting to put a lot of time and energy.
Fantastic. Judge Fischmann?
Kind
What
of,
about you?
yeah, sorry, it kind of piggybacks off that. Again, as a criminal law practitioner, we recently have done a lot of work, at least down where I did practice in Hennepin, with veterans courts and drug courts. It's something that I think is very valuable to communities. I've seen what those courts can do. Again, you know, in these smaller counties, we're limited by resources of what we can provide. But it's something that I really am a believer in. And I know the special circumstances that veterans face in the criminal justice system, and as well as these treatment courts have seen what they can do. And so that's something that once I get my feet under me, I would absolutely love to be a part of trying to get going, improving, and being a part of.
Well, one of the things that was mentioned previously is that the job is a learning curve in terms of the skills you need, and you need to develop them relatively quickly. Um, what type of support or training in particular is available for newly appointed judges? Is there any programs or support that's structured to assist a judge who's newly appointed? We'll go with Judge Doom.
I know I haven't had the chance to go yet. We'll go in March, I believe, to new judge school, which I'm very excited about. And I'm glad that that comes a few months after you've been on the bench, right? I think it gives you a better chance to know and get a better feel for the job and to really have a better understanding and to absorb the things that we're going to learn at new judge school. So I think that's one of the idea or things that I'm excited about. I think the other thing that's been really important and critical for me is just the mentorship program and having a mentor judge. And I think I would say up here in what we refer to as the Pitt counties, Pine, Sandy, Chisago, and Kanabec, it really feels like I don't just have one mentor judge. I have like 8 mentor judges, and they have just been phenomenal about answering those questions, even if it's in the middle of a hearing and I need to take a break. And that is invaluable. I don't know how we would do this job with the learning curve we have if we didn't have amazing judges really stepping up to serve as our mentor on a daily basis.
All right. Judge Fishman?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That I will just say that the new judges school, I was confused initially why we are going on the bench before going to new judges school, and I completely understand now. You know, having at least a baseline knowledge before you learn something, I think is really, really important to really retain that information. You know, we've all gone, if you go to continuing legal education, you go and hear some speech about something you know nothing about, it almost just goes right over your head. And so having at least a baseline understanding of what we're talking about, I think is going to be really helpful. Yeah, the Pitt counties, again, 1 judge county, Judge Doom, 2 judge county. But it does feel like we're almost in a community of counties here with multiple judges, just based on who we're able to reach out to. There's such an institutional knowledge base within the 4 counties here that we've been able to pull from. And so those educational opportunities are necessary for us to do our jobs.
Judge Doom, what has surprised you so far the most about the job?
I think what surprised me the most is one, I love it. And I don't know that why that surprised me, but because I loved my practice so much, I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, am I going to enjoy this? Am I going to feel the same level of passion about this job that I felt about being an advocate? And I really am loving it. I feel very fortunate that people are putting their trust in me to make really big decisions about their life, and that's not something I take lightly. I struggle with, or not struggle, but I really try and be intentional about the decisions I'm making, taking some time. I think one of the best pieces of advice I got was saying it's okay to take a break, take 5 or 10 minutes. If people are asking you to make big decisions, such as whether somebody needs to execute a prison sentence, it's okay to take time. And so I really have, that's just been a surprise to me, is how much I'm truly enjoying the work and how I feel just passionate about the work that I'm doing.
Judge Fishman, what has surprised you?
I'll take this from a criminal perspective, just because it's what I know. There could be a motion or a type of case that you've seen hundreds of times before. You've advocated on a certain side of that case. You've filed that specific motion. And yet when you're the decision maker and you're up there, how much different it actually feels and how foreign it feels. It is so much different sitting, looking at both parties, listening to both arguments, even if, again, you've heard the same arguments in court for years. It's a different feeling. It's a different way of looking at things. It's a different type of stress. I'm not saying it's more stressful. It's a different type of stress. And so that was surprising to me because I didn't come in expecting, oh, this was going to be easy, but I did think that the criminal aspect of it was going to be, oh, I've seen all of this before. It is a lot harder than I thought to put yourself in that non-advocate role and be the decision maker role.
So now that you are all sitting in this position, this amazing job, I'm sure people are going to be asking you, should I apply? What would you say to someone who is interested in applying for a judge show? What advice would you give them, Judge Fischmann?
So I believe that letters of recommendation matter. And I believe that the due diligence that the committee does and people from the governor's office do matters, and they're going to be reaching out to colleagues. And so, I really think that the way you treat your colleagues is incredibly important. And there's something to be said about being comfortable in your job, but I think almost treating every day like a job interview for your own job. It never ends wanting to improve. It never ends wanting to treat colleagues and coworkers and members of the opposing side how you'd want to be treated. And I think your reputation really, really matters when you're applying for these jobs. I've looked at people who have applied and they may have had stronger academic credentials, they may have had stronger litigation credentials, but I really think the way that I've treated people went a long way.
Okay, and you're going to get the last question, Judge Doom, and it's related to the last question, but we always like to ask the question of your legacy. What type of legacy would you like to leave behind?
I want to leave the legacy that everyone who's appeared in front of me has felt like they were heard and listened to and respected. To me, that's the most important thing. I think the decisions that we make are critically important, but if people don't feel that they had their voice heard in the courtroom and that they weren't respected, I don't think the decisions mean as much or are impactful. And so for me, it really comes down to wanting people to feel that they were heard at the end of the day.
Judge Doom, Judge Fischmann, thank you so much again for being on the District Court Show. You are both fantastic additions to the 10th Judicial District and Isanti County and Kanabec County, as well as all of the district. We're so fortunate to have you with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And to the viewers, thank you for tuning in to the District Court Show. Stay informed, be well, and we will see you again on the next episode.